Right, I think I'm live. Probably should have swigged that before I started. Right, everyone just let me know if you can hear me and stuff. I'm using this crappy old iPhone to read comments and things, and I think it's probably going to cut out because it's just crap. So we'll start with, I suppose, looking at my desktop, and then we'll start with basically having a think about what's going on right now. So we're seeing pullbacks, alright? We are seeing pullbacks, and I know that this isn't the best indicator of what's going on in real life. It's just a sneak peek of what's going on in real life. But considering that we've had a pullback of, well, these last, from the top, I suppose, to where we are right now, it's a 12%, to the price action right now. Go to the daily. It's nothing really. It's a percent, a couple of percent really. We're still surprisingly long across the board on retailers. 83% long, and I know that that's not the best way to look at it, because Bitfinex is always long. So let's just look at these. We've got 62% here, we've got 56% there. I'm inclined to believe that we're going to continue to go up from this level. I think this pullback is just a pullback, and if it does pull back any further, we're going to look at these zones here, which is basically where it's gone before. You'll be pleased to know, well, I don't know if you'll be pleased to know, I've bought a graphics card, so hopefully everything will run a lot smoother on these over the next few weeks. Is everything working? Everybody just let me know, because my iPhone's freezing up like hell. So just let me know. Is it working? Everything working? Everyone just let me know if it's working. Is it working? There's a bloody delay like hell on this thing. So, right. Okay, yeah, it's working. Everything's fine. All right, brilliant. Right, because I've done these live streams before. I ended up just talking to myself, and apparently I was all going mental. So, right. So before I start looking at people's requests, my overview is that basically everyone else seems to be long, and unless there's an enormous dump to liquidate everybody, which would then which would make an enormous dump, because there are still quite a lot of longs taking place here. It would have to be further down than around here, and if we did come down to around 50,000 on the daily, I suppose that's where I'd expect it to bounce first time, because we've got two really strong supports here. We were supported down here before. We were expecting to come down here. We didn't. We could come down here this time. Like I say, we double tagged it there. Now, if you watch my YouTube videos, I also sort of talk about how this kind of looks similar in a way to the way that to the way that this kind of looked. It's not the same, but it's kind of similar. And when this happened, we had an alt season, a decent one as well. It was a decent one. So this could also be what's likely to happen as well. So Bitcoin could be trickling down. And if you remember when we were sort of doing the live streams and around this period here, where we were saying use Bitcoin as an indicator. If Bitcoin looked weak, then take profit on your alts. When Bitcoin dumps, then get back into your alts. I'm feeling as though that might be the vibe that we're in. If we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, we have broken down beneath this uptrend of support, which we've been, I suppose, supported from since 2017. Oh, I need a new graphics card. I hope it works. I bought it off eBay. It's not here yet. It was disturbingly cheap for like an 8 gig graphics card, so I hope I'm not just going to get probably am going to get some pure junk come through, but yeah, I mean this computer, it needs a kick up the ass, and maybe I should have splashed out and bought something better. But graphics cards are so hard to find these days. I didn't realise everybody was mining it. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that that's what they're doing with graphics cards. Everybody's mining. It's ridiculous to think that that's what's going on. Anyway, on a tangent. So yeah, support, and yeah, now it looks as though we have broken the support. Now this support would eventually, in the long run, move all the way up to 100%. So it's gonna break down from it at some point. But the thing is that we have broken from it here, and the main thing for me now would be to break down below 60. So if we look at the way that this is on the daily today, it's an interesting candle. It's a spinning top between the top and the bottom here, which may be a resistance and obviously a support. Breaking down below here, alt season. So this is why I'm entertaining the prospect of an alt season. And not only that, and you've probably seen this on my video, I've spoken about it for a while now. This is the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. Ethereum, obviously such a large market cap that if it bounces, if it moves, if it goes into a rally or a run, then this is almost certainly going to come down and hopefully push down below 60, and then it'll be like a domino effect. So this is the way I'm thinking. I'm choosing to think like this. There's no crystal ball here. There is no exact science to it. It's how you choose, or I choose, to interpret what's going on right now. And personally, I don't think we're mega bearish. And if we are mega bearish, the worst case scenarios will come down to either test this, which is the green 50 exponential, or the 50 moving average, which is this little skinny purple one. You could argue both of those were tagged on this last pop. And while that is a very realistic possibility, so is this. Tagging the 10 exponential on the weekly, we also more or less tagged that on the last decent downtrend, again, which was an alt season. So I hope that wasn't all too boring for you. This is how I'm choosing to look at it, and I like to start these live streams with, I suppose, an overview of how we should try, or how I intend to try and play this market, which is that Bitcoin is always in control, even when alts rally. It's always in control, because if it dumps, alts dump, but then it's a matter of quickly checking the Bitcoin dominance. Where are we at? Are we still falling? Are alts recovering? Is the Bitcoin dominance going down after the dump, or is it going up after the dump? And then we basically find the entry points that we're going to discuss now on all these charts, and we go in for the kill until Bitcoin decides it wants to do another dump. And again, this is what I'm saying. Bitcoin may just become the indicator, and that's what I mean by Bitcoin being your indicator of an exit of your altcoin, and then get back in on it. So that's the way I'm choosing to look at it. Right, so I might be wrong. This is my strategy. And it's always obviously going to apply to getting decent entry points, but also not being too greedy. So also, if we think about Bitcoin on just the very basic strategies of trading, at the moment we're below the center of the Bollinger Band, so we're in bearish territory. So this generally means that the bears still have the upper hand until we break above here and close above here. If we see these moving averages, they are going to start drooping below there, so that's basically making negative crosses. They're not death crosses in their own right, technical death crosses, but they're not good. You want them to stay in this kind of posturing. If you start to have the 10 below the 20, it's the wrong place. You want it to be up. But we're not too concerned about Bitcoin being bullish, because one thing that I've been thinking about is the way that Bitcoin is behaving, which is reasonably nice, but having these big dips now, if we do have an explosive move, and I mean like a big one, if we think about Bitcoin moving up to 70,000 or so from where we're at right now, 70,000, that's 30% move from where we're at right now. That it could just about manage. Much more than that, the pullback would be pretty severe at that point. I would imagine it would be pretty severe, and I would be considering being extremely careful when Bitcoin gets to those levels, and I would only really be buying. Well, I'll be selling a lot, I think, just in anticipation for a massive dump, because these dumps haven't been big. These dumps have been. These are just little dumps, really. I know 30% seems like a lot, but it's not really. It's not really a lot. I mean, that was 30%. This was 30%. This may end up being 30%. That's not a great deal. If you've been around for long enough, I mean, you'll have seen it with altcoins. Bitcoin can behave just like an altcoin. It can dump 40, 50, 60 or more percent. And I would not be surprised to see that. But at this level, I would be relatively surprised to see that. But it could happen. But I'm not viewing it that way, only because some of these other things look too good, to write off. But again, it's worth putting it out there. So just to recap, in summary, I am bullish. I'm bullish on altcoins. I'm not immediately bullish on this short-term time frame, but I am bullish on altcoins because of the Bitcoin dominance, the way that it looks now that we are below here, and perhaps we're looking to break down below here, and also this long-standing chart here of Ethereum. Now, Ethereum has been kind of dead in the water, more or less a stable coin for a while. It could be up for a run, and the way that Ethereum has behaved on this last run it has given us plenty of opportunity to get in. It has big moves up, and then long periods of boring price action, move up, boring price action, move up. It's still quite bullish, but choppy, move up. Big problem there. And again, we're not looking particularly bullish here, really, not really at all. But it could move, obviously, and if it does, that'll be it. So that's if you can tune into my thought process, this is how I'm going to interpret all these charts when we're looking at all these altcoins. I'm going to view them through the lens of long term, as in, like, I believe that these are generally likely to go up if they've got good. If they've got a good chart, particularly. If they've not got a good chart, we're going to assume that any kind of potential setup could then become setup. But again, you know me, I'm very conservative, very realistic about what I think is going to happen, and I'm not a moon boy. And if anyone thinks I'm becoming one, just let me know, and I'll address that. All right. Right, so let's start with, what have we got here? Is this the first one? XLM? Let's just make sure that is the first one. Yeah, it is. Okay, that's fine. And one thing I was thinking of doing, actually, is about an hour into this, or 45 minutes into this, I was going to open it to the public forum, which gives me opportunity to answer all these Patreon, all you beautiful Patreon people, and then will allow for some gate crashers to come in. So if you want to like the video, just to make it look like it's popular, and then what I'll do is I'll open it up in about 45 minutes to the public, just to give them a little taster of what's really going on here. Just a little taster. In all fairness, if you all want to put in your requests now, which you may have already done, I could just open it up now. So I'll give you 5 minutes to like the video and put your requests in. And then what I'll do after that is I'll open it up to the public. So I'll do a few of these requests. You keep putting your requests in now, so I'll get round to all of your questions, and then we'll see what see if there's any freebie people that join in, and if we get round to them, excellent. Right, so that's the overview. That's the lens I'm choosing to view it through. So let's have a look at some of these charts. XLM. I have been looking at this one myself, and if we go to the daily, I do like the way that it's shaping up. Now, I know that XRP actually looks quite good as well. I see someone's asked for that, and we'll have a look at that as well. This moves in on the coattails of XRP, but it's a way more constructive chart. I would be way more happy in trading this than I would XRP, even though I love XRP, in the long term. And I mean long term. You know how I feel about that. I'm not a moon boy, but I do talk about it. I haven't said anything about it recently, but there's nothing to say. I feel like I've said it all, to be honest. But the small term, short term, even the daily term timeframes don't concern me, or don't even bother me at all on XRP. But when we're looking at this, I mean, you don't need me to explain to you what we're all expecting to happen on this one. I mean, if this carries on like this, let's just have a little look at what's been going on here. Ghost feed, no, thank you. So I mean, this is very much a realistic possibility, isn't it? This looks very much like it's going to continue this way. I mean, in all fairness, probably see higher highs each time. So this being like a representation of what it could look like, I think this is a reasonably too small, even for me. And again, let me know if I'm being a moon boy. I think that this is going to be much bigger than this. This is the kind of vibe that I'm getting from it, because it's very neat and tidy, and it has a big move, consolidation, big move, consolidation, big move, consolidation. This could pop at any moment. And if we just reset the chart and zoom in a little bit closer, what we're seeing is the pinching of the Bollinger Bands here. Volatility basically not here whatsoever, but it's only a matter of time before it starts its run, in my opinion. And again, I'm viewing this through the lens of a moon boy in a way, because I do think that's what's going to happen. So from the bottom to the top, the Bollinger Band is 12%, and provided that we don't dump into the abyss, which I really don't think we're going to do. Even if we did have a dump, I think that this chart alone would have the ability to suck its wick back right up inside this Bollinger Band, just like this one did. this is kind of feels like an entry point, even though we're below the center of the Bollinger Band. This is reaccumulation. So when we're talking about moving averages and things like that, when they're all merging into one like this, it's not. There's no edge there. But what there seems to be clearly is a reaccumulation, just like we've had each one of these times. And the smaller the volatility on these on these candles, it's just a matter of time. If we have a look at the way that these start to look, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to go any minute. It's not. On the low-term time frames, it doesn't look like it wants to go. That's not bullish particularly, even though that is divergence. You might look at this and go, well, we're below the 0 point. We haven't made a cross. It doesn't matter if we've not made a cross. Look at the histogram, and the histogram is more or less, a reference of divergence. And what we're getting here is tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. It's finished, in my opinion, consolidating, and it's ready for its next move. So when we look at trading something like this and we see that it's in an accumulation phase, we just accumulate it blindly. We don't wait for the perfect opportunity. We accumulate it blindly, because if you think about where it's going to go, how it's behaved in the past, you could come back down to this wick. You could see a dumpy wick come down there to the tune of 22%. You could. But if we're looking to take out this high, and literally take out that high and more, that's a 50% move already. We could assume that high is the halfway point, and the 100% is the next one. And this is how I'm choosing to view XLM. I really like the chart because it's structured and it's neat and it's tidy and it's got behaviour that so far has been pretty predictable. And if we're looking at periods of accumulation, this seems to be the tightest one that we've got, leading me to believe that this would lead to a bigger move, the biggest move perhaps. And we're talking about really big moves. This move I know was driven by, what was it? The central bank of Ukraine or something like that. Going to use the source code or something along those lines. So it was a big development for XLM, but I mean, I'm not. If you're from the Ukraine, I mean, I've never been, but it's not like a superpower, is it? I mean, it's a country, but if that can perform a 226% move, and then we don't dump down into the abyss afterwards, I mean, it held up quite well. Anyway, I think I've gone on too long for this. End of the day, this is an accumulation period. It's looking good, and I would be quite happy in going into it here, even if we expect a 22% drop down to retest that wick. Worst case scenario, could retest this. Even on these, it didn't come close. We more or less stayed above the green 50 exponential, so I like it a lot. I think it's great. As far as other indicators and signals are concerned, there isn't really any. It's just showing a period of accumulation, and when in accumulation, what do? We accumulate. Right, Atom, let's have a look at Atom. Right, same kind of vibe, although a little bit more messy. Right, so we've tagged as of today the 50 simple moving average, which we've had a run here, and the run broke down, but I suppose that's because everything's been breaking down recently. But as far as the rest of the chart is concerned, it seems okay. That's one hell of a massive move there. Let's have a look at these oscillators. It looks like it could have a little more downside to it, but won't be too much, but it could. Like I say, if we think about Bitcoin and the way that Bitcoin's behaving, Bitcoin dumps. If the dominance after the dump continues to rise, then we back off alts for a bit. If it continues to dump after the dump, so the dump would happen, most likely dominance would go up. When the dump is finished, if dominance starts to go down, we go back into alts and we try to pick up these areas. So if this were to break down, I would really only be thinking about the zones like here, 17.775. If that broke down, it might get a little nasty, but it's holding quite strong. This is a massive move, wasn't it? Let's just measure it from the last time we touched the 50. So from the 50 exponential, so there's a 300% move. It's it's choppy as anything here, so it's going to be difficult to trade this one. I would say it's difficult to trade it, but if I was to go in on it, it would be here, bottom of the Bollinger Band and the green 50 exponential. But for the moment, it does look like it wants to perhaps come down. Now the RSI is quite low here, and maybe another stab down. If that were to oversell it, it would be the first time we've really peaked down below that Bollinger Band, below that RSI. So that would also, in my opinion, probably give it the nod for another move. Last time we had a decent nod down was here, and that would have been an epic opportunity, so buying that from there. Then they would just measure it for fun. 540% move. It doesn't mean that we're going to do that again, but I'm just saying that this hasn't been oversold a great deal, and when it has been oversold in the past, it has had decent rallies. So maybe this one could be the one to pick up. It's not overly bullish right now, but it has been in the past. Maybe it will continue into the future. Let's have a look at the weekly chart. Conversion baseline cross here, and the weekly over here actually formed over here. So weekly wants to continue for more. Where does this bring us down here? 16.489. That would be the worst case scenario, that we'd come down to tag that 10 exponential on the weekly. Yeah, I mean, I like it generally speaking. It's just very choppy. It's very choppy. So, but I think it's going to work out if my overall prediction of the market works out. Let's have a look at BNB then, shall we? And I'll tell you what, after this one, if you've all put your requests in and you've all liked the video, I will then at that point open this to the public. Right, so we had this apex forming here on the on BNB, and we had a breakout and a breakdown, and that doesn't surprise me actually that it did do that, because for those who know about these kind of formations, and when we see them getting towards the very end, the absolute apex, the longer it takes for a formation to have a breakout or a breakdown, usually the crapper the move. And this did, obviously, I mean, it's not BNB's fault. I mean, it did the move and Bitcoin broke down, so yeah, unfortunate for BNB, but also because we were coming towards the end of the apex. Normally, I'm not saying normally, it's not uncommon for it to have a fake out and a breakdown, but I wouldn't blame it really so much on the formation. But that's just something to be aware of, just for something for you to, I suppose, for you to remember. If a formation like this, basically a bull flag has formed and we're getting to the end of the apex, don't get too excited about it breaking out, because it could be a fake out, and in this instance it was, but it wasn't really BNB's fault. So we can also, the good thing about these is we do these measure moves. If we were to, for whatever reason, break out, we would be moving up to 420 roughly, but we could probably argue that this might have been a failed formation, so we can get rid of that. So what we're going to look at now is, I suppose, just zoom in a little closer, have a look at the actual relationship it's got going with these moving averages. This little skinny grey one here, this is like the backup plan for the centre of the Bollinger Band. It's the 21 exponential moving average, which some people use as the centre of the Bollinger Band anyway. I mean, I use mostly exponential moving averages, but apart from the Bollinger Band, which I always use the main moving average. And so what we see here is that, yeah, we are below the centre of the Bollinger Band if we zoom in here. And again, all moving averages are kind of converging in, to themselves, being in like an accumulation phase, like a lot of these tokens are, and we're being caught here. So yes, we are bearish technically, but for a lot of traders and a lot of people who trade crypto, we're not yet bearish, because this is like the shadow, I would say. If we're above the 21 exponential, we can still have that little bit of hopium that we bounce from here. But me personally, I prefer this, the normal moving averages. Now, if we have a look at the MACD, these, when I will make a video on MACD and how to use it. I can't use all the different formations that you get used to, but ones that look like this usually are attributed to reaccumulation, redistribution, cooling off periods. They're not, so long as they're not steepening and getting massively diverged from each other, which they're not. Normally this ends up being a bullish thing. So we have a negative cross here. It's not the end of the world. We had a massive move. The fact is, we didn't have a steep correction, even though you probably thought you probably would. We don't have a steep move on the MACD here. We are a bit nondescript with the RSI, but if it wanted to move, it could move aggressively. So that 420 is easily achieved if it wanted to do it, if the market turned around and allowed it to. And that's what I suppose what we're waiting for, I suppose. So overall, I am bullish on BNB, but again, just like XLM, the time frames are difficult now at this point because we had that formation, which would have been good. The formation would have been good, but unfortunately, the formation failed. So now we basically are just using the moving averages as supports. And if this breaks down, I would say for BNB at this level, if it does break down, if Bitcoin breaks down, to those lower levels, then this probably would feel the pain. That probably brings down to 220, maybe even tag 210, but at the moment we've not done that yet, and it's pretty bullish overall. It's pretty bullish, but it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. We'll probably bounce and move quite well, but how far can Binance coin really bounce in the long term? I know people like round numbers and people talk about $1,000, yeah. But why $1,000? Is it just because that sounds nice? I mean, that's not how it really works. I mean, for me, it's all about balancing risk and overextensions and things like that. We have a look at the money flow index. Now, this is quite interesting when we look at it here. This does seem to have some kind of relevance to it here. It's not exactly perfect, but it kind of looks quite nice. I might be inclined to think that if there is any downside, the worst case scenario, or this moving average here on the 10 exponential, that's bringing us to 200 flat more or less. What's this? 7 simple, 240. So they correspond to these areas as well. That one down here was, where was 240? We had 240, didn't we, on some area? What was 240? No, it's 220. So I suppose, look, it's at the mercy of Bitcoin at the end of the day, but the weekly looked pretty good, and could easily form a bounce around that money flow index trend line, but again, it's a matter of waiting for the dips to get bought when Bitcoin brings itself down, which it looks like it wants to do right now. Let's just have a quick look on the 4 hourly, what's going on here. Yeah, so Bitcoin wants to break down again a little further, 52 to 53. That would be where I'd expect. I would expect that at this point now, because as you can see, we are getting a downtrend. Rejected here, divergences, rejected here, rejected again here. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we came down to that level there. And yeah, we could have a double bottom form, more or less around here, and maybe even a decent bounce at that point. We'll always have to keep checking this. Right, so that's BNB done. Right, so I'm going to open this to the public. If you don't mind, how do I go about doing that? Edit this. I'll show all my private keys to everybody. How do I do that? How the hell do I do that? There we go. Right. Not private, public. Right. Welcome in. Probably no one will join now. That one's run out. Get my daily fix. Right. BNB's done. So looks like a little bit of downside. Perhaps maybe more, but it's holding up quite strong at the moment, I'll have to say. Right, that is that one. Let's have a look at KMD. Well, that's doing alright in the face of things, isn't it? Well, I mean, it's not the oldest chart in the world, but it's okay. So conversion baseline cross here. So a new trend begun here. Let's have a look at these. Looks like it wants to. It can move more if it wants to. It's outside of the Bollinger Band. How have we behaved in the past when he came outside Bollinger Bands? Here we had a breakout, sucked right down into it. Here, breakout, sucked down into it. Here, breakout, sucked down into it. Sucked down, sucked down, sucked. So we're outside of it now, so I would assume we get sucked back into the Bollinger Band, because that's how this coin has always behaved. So I'll choose to look at it in that way. But look, moving averages all in the right place, so the trend should likely continue, in my opinion. But this is likely to get sucked back inside the Bollinger Band. And where's the Bollinger Band right now? It's coming out at the top, is around about $1.90. and it's moving up quite fast. So between $1.90, $2, it'll be sucked back within those zones. And how has this? What's the relationship with these moving averages? Even at the most bullish points, we always like the 10 exponential. We seem to always like the 10 exponential. So I'd imagine this is going into a bull mode. Obviously it is. We know that. We can see that. But the relationship with the Bollinger Band plus the relationship with the 10 exponential leads me to believe that probably tonight or tomorrow it will be brought back down to $2 flat or lower, and then as this catches up with price action, that will be the next entry point. And like I say, we've got the conversion baseline. We basically got a decent conversion baseline crossover here, and I would be willing to trade that one for continuation. And then that only started around this level, so what's that, 25% from here to here? No, it's not. What am I talking about? My maths is horrendous. 40% from the cross. Normally on the daily, if you ever get something like this on an altcoin that's so bullish, I would expect probably a lot more than that. And when we look at these indicators here, there is a lot more room to move. Let's have a look at the weekly just briefly. So the weekly doesn't respect that as much when it comes to being outside of the Bollinger Band. It can be brought back down within it. I would look at this one on the daily. I would trade it up on the daily. So wait for that pullback, that retest of the 10 exponential. If you wanted to trade this one, that's how I would do it. You all know I'm not a financial advisor, obviously you know that. XEM, let's have a look at that. Right, well, difficult for me to say because it's not a very old chart, and it is. I mean, what happened here? I mean, a lot of altcoins had this, but this one has not recovered from it. And I think part of its problem is that on the daily here, because it's so young, we don't have a baseline of a 200 exponential to even catch us. So we're below all the major moving averages. So what you'll be looking to do here is trying to catch a knife. So we've had a 1, 2, 3 bottoms around this zone, 32, about 32.3 cents roughly. So you could only assume that this is going to be the bottom again. Alright, and that corresponds to that zone there. Any more? Right, so the top is there. I suppose 1, 2, 3 launch pad, and then 1, 2, 3. Right, well, maybe if you wanted to catch the knife, then that would be the zone. We do have correlation with a top, several supports, and supports even on this giant big breakdown here. So, but is it bullish? No, it's not. Are you catching a knife? Yeah, you are. There's nothing wrong with catching knives. I don't know anything about this coin. I don't know what it does. I don't know if it's got a good future. I don't know if this dump is emphasized by bad news. I don't know anything about it. But if you wanted to catch a knife, this is where you would catch it. But would it bounce significantly from here? What would it do from here? I don't know. The chart is too young. It's too young for me to give an opinion over. And it's not bullish, let's put it like that. But if there's a bottom, it would be here, and this is where the bottom would be. If it breaks down from here, well, we're probably, this looks like an obvious area here actually, where we've got these candle body closes and supports. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got many areas of support around here, and that brings it down to a further 26 cents. So worst case scenario, this doesn't hold and it breaks down further, and it would be catching it, another knife. With your other hand, you've already lost your fingers on one hand. You've still got one hand left. Oh, versus Bitcoin. I should have read. Well, I don't imagine it's going to look very good. I can't imagine it look well. It's more or less the same, isn't it? Okay, so yeah, I suppose the same kind of rules apply. Jesus. So the same kind of rules apply. But it's a lot older chart actually, isn't it, here when we look at it like this? So maybe I should. I need to read everybody's text. I need to read everything properly. But the same thing applies here. Look, we're below all major moving averages. That's the 200 exponential there, so we shouldn't be below that. Being below there is bearish. It's always considered to be bearish. So I would probably think about this in terms of its tether pairing, because there's a bit more confluence to the tops and the resistances and the supports there. But I don't like the look of it here particularly. oversold pretty significantly there. We are turning up here, so maybe if you do get that opportunity on Tether, that would be a knife worth catching. But are we going to go bullish from there? At the moment, we're heading for a death cross over here. So, and again, there's nothing bullish about it unless you want to catch a knife and you really believe in this token. Then yeah. Right. What else would you be able to explain? Hang on. Have I got everyone's thing? Would you be able to explain about the gaps in the closing and opening of candles? I've heard that the charts always has to retest the gaps. Are you talking about? I imagine you're talking about the CME gaps. So if that's what, I mean, it's basically that's thrown out the window now. That used to be the case when Bitcoin was more of a, and in general traditional markets. Yeah, I mean, what it is because that trades on a Monday to Friday, they don't account for the weekends. And what seems to have happened in the past doesn't seem to happen very often, but it does still happen. Price action brings itself back down to there. It's like a shared psychology, isn't it? It's a shared psychology. It's just like a cycle, like the Bitcoin cycle. If enough people believe in something, then it comes to fruition. There's been a lot of CME gaps. I don't pay too much. I've never been into all that, even though you can think about it. I've never really thought too much about it. As in like traded and expected these things to happen. But yeah, CME gaps do often get filled, but there has been on this last bull run quite a few occasions where they haven't been filled, or they don't get filled to their full extent. They might get, because there'll be sometimes you can have a massive gap and only a little tip of the top of it gets filled, and that counts for, but does it really? And it's basically because weekends have trading take place for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, 24-hour trading. 7 days a week. CMEs are, Monday to Friday. But yeah, they do often get filled, but don't hold your breath and expect them to be filled. They don't have to be filled. It's true to an extent, but it's not. Don't become a gap boy and expect those sort of things. What else? Let's have a look at SXP. And is that SXP to BNB? Oh, you want me to have a look at Harmony 1 as well? Alright. Let's have a look on Tether, shall we? Right, so yeah, I mean, this is the deal. Same old SXP story. Come up to test resistances and break down from it. Resistances break down, overshoot the resistance, break back down again. The chart is bullish, right? Golden cross here, we're looking bullish. We're bullish overall. Conversion baseline here above the cloud, not perfect. It's not perfect at all. Let's just measure that actually. It was that 26 periods behind. So I mean, we touched the price action there. So that's not a perfect signal, but it's a decent one all the same. But it's not one worth trading upon. It's still nice to see, but it's not. It's 2 out of 3 confirmations. Look, we've tagged the centre of the Bollinger Band. That's fine. We've tagged there before and we've bounced. We've tagged here. It's not even this is more or less the 21 exponential rather than the 20 moving average. But we've tagged it, so we could expect a bounce here. We got a rejection from this zone here, which is the one level of resistance that basically just corresponds to the last 2 tops, more or less. Look, this is one of those slow burners, which will end up working out really well in the long term. I know it will. Not even long term, relatively short term. If we look at the way that these candles are formed at the moment, it's almost on this weekly. We look as though we've kind of had a cup in handle. So there's your cup, there's your handle, and yes, it's a volatile asset. It likes to go down as much as it goes up, but it's not like it was before. This was basically PR move. Everyone going crazy on it, and then dump down into it. This is a much more constructive move, built upon a setup that we followed more or less from the start, and it's continuing, and it's just getting stronger. And when I mean it's getting stronger, it's because we've got these moving averages diverging away from each other. It's getting stronger. It's not the SXP that it used to be. This is the start of a decent uptrend, but it's very dumpy because I imagine there's a lot of people scared of it because they look at this and go, oh my god. And this is what I mean, it's the psychology of trading as well. Like, I felt a little apprehensive getting involved in it when I did around these zones because of this is what the chart looked like before then. The chart looked like that to me. That's how the chart looks like to me. It wasn't even there. It was around this zone. This is when I was getting involved in it here. and the chart looked like this, that was more scary than this, because we didn't have a 200 exponential. All we had was a really bearish chart. We saw that there might be an uptrend beginning, but there was no real confirmation that there was. Now it's a lot better, because we're at a higher level. We are at a higher level, and that in that respect, people would assume that the higher we go, the harder we fall. That's not the case. We've got all these moving averages beneath us that are all diverging. So in that respect, these are all valuable supports that are moving upwards fast. So I like it, and I think it's good to go for the long run. Doesn't mean we can't dump down below the centre of that Bollinger Band and even tag the green 50 exponential here, coming in today at $2.64. That can happen, and it's not going to bother me. When this one goes, it's going to go. The previous top will be taken out. I can't give you a time frame on it, but the way that the chart is presenting itself suggests that it will, sooner rather than later. But be prepared for some hefty moves up and some disappointing moves back down again. Look, we on our first pass we came up above this trend line, above this moving average here. The next one of any significance is going to be here at $4.30, and I would expect the same way that we reacted back down here when we were trading it back down here. We came up, big rejection, and look, these look small, but if we're thinking about them in terms of percent, they're not small at all. This is what I mean. When I was getting involved in this, and you look at these moves down here, they don't look big, but don't let those little candles fool you. They are big. That was a 40% move back down. This was another close to 40, if not more, percent move back down. 30% move back down. That was the scary time. This isn't scary anymore. Excuse me, because the trend has a clear formation. So yeah, I'm not bothered about it. It can dump back down even more. That's fine. And if we did do that, that is so far as a 24. That is a 36. Been there before. Seen there. Been there. Done it. Sometimes charts can mislead you, and you think that it's gone all the way up here. It means it's going to come all the way back down there. Look, when you start trading these things, the moves, as far as your portfolio is concerned, the balance of your portfolio is just the same down here as it was up here. So, now, even though we're at a higher level, I feel more secure in this trade than I did back down here. Even though the risks were the same, if not worse, when I first started getting back involved in it. So yeah, hopefully that's okay for you. And Harmony won, right? So this is comparable. So I don't really know how useful this can be. We'll have a look. So normally, when I see something like this, I have to say, the trend is going to be your friend until the end of the trend. So we are continuing with this trend. This is still good. Even when we look at the money flow index, how high was that? 95, 90. 82 at the moment, so it's quite high, but it's not massively high. RSI is bumping its head on the roof. MACD is pretty high. Let's have a look at it versus Bitcoin. Why do I do that? Might give us some more clues. So it's pretty much the same chart, and actually when we look at the money flow index over here, it's a pretty high read. I wouldn't ever get involved in anything at over 95 or especially 96. Pretty much a toppy level for any asset. So I think that this one, if you wanted to get involved in it now, feel free to do it. But it's pretty high. But if we do come back down on this one, that's fine. We test trend lines, we test moving averages, and you expect another bounce from here, coming down to around about 212 sats if it happened today. Don't think about these numbers if you're sort of new to this live stream. I've opened this up. This is normally available to Patreon users. I know there's a load of other people just joined now, so I'm giving you like a freebie, little taster. If you like this, you can join my Patreon. £7.50 a month, by the way. Bargain. You get 2 of these a week. But yeah, when I'm talking about prices, I mean I'm not specifically saying get in at this level. I'm not saying get in at all. I'm not your financial advisor. These are moving averages that are going to be moving up with the price action. So look, the relationship we've had so far is big move up, come back down, 10 exponential, big move up, come back down, not quite the 10 exponential. This is super bullish, so you could argue that this one here is the 7 simple moving average, or just the 7 moving average, and we've tagged that. And this is when things go into really bullish modes. They leave the exponentials behind, and this is the lowest time frame that I would ever have on my charts, because it's the only one of any real significance to it. And when things go into real turbo bullish mode, if they ever come back down and this is what they tagged, then it's not the end of the but it's leading on to a massive move when we tag these. So we did that here, tagged it, big move up here, more or less tagged it here, massive move here. Now if we look at the state of this this candle here at the moment as it stands, just a big wick at the top, big wick at the bottom, little bit of candle in the middle, closing within the Bollinger Band. Looks like it's running out of steam, and that would be because the money flow index is probably so high. So I would expect a re-tag of, if not the 7 moving average or the 10 exponential. There's not much between them, is there? There's only a few sats between them, and that's what I would expect. So I would probably not feel comfortable risking any more on this one, but if you did want to, that's how you'd do it. And probably find a new high after that. But with these reads being this high, it's deadly stuff. Deadly stuff. Right, can I have a quick look at VET? Yes, I can. Right, okay, well, I mean, this chart is more constructive than the majority that we've been looking at, and by that I mean it's very bullish, but look at how well it's respecting this 10 exponential, and this is what we like when we see charts that are doing this. This is very bullish clearly, but it's not really at any point blowing its top off. However, it has become overextended there from the top to where we are right now, 17%. So more of a retracement than most, but the chart is still in a good place. So we had a conversion baseline crossover here. This would have been a good one as well to trade, because Chiku's span here is above all the price action when the cross took place, and we're above the cloud, which means that whenever we see one of these, this is where a trend begins, and it more or less has begun to the tune of 127, and at the moment still 86% move. So that would have been the signal to trade, and you would still stay in that trade. There's nothing to say that that trend has ended, because this hasn't touched the price action and we haven't had a negative cross either. So as far as this is concerned, this is the signal to get in, and we haven't got the signal to get out yet. So I would say that the trend is still in play, and the divergences are massive. They're getting more and more each time. They're all facing up, and we're tagging the 10 exponential. Worst case scenario, we have a breakdown, we go down here. Worst case scenario, I mean, we've already wicked below it. We don't generally do that. We haven't done that recently. That's the first time we've done that, wicked below it. The chart is bullish. I would be bullish on this. Now let's have a look at the oscillators, see how they're not overextended at all. They're fine. We are getting I suppose a bit of negative bearish divergence ever so slightly on this histogram. I wouldn't read too much into that. Let's have a look on the weekly. So that's not overextended, is it? Bearish divergence on the RSI. We've seen a lot of this. That is your third piece. So if that ends up playing out, worst case scenario, we do come all the way down here to the 10 exponential, but not really feeling that particularly. How did this happen in the first instance? So we had the top here, red weekly candle. Top here, red weekly candle. Maybe that is the top here, so it's something worth considering. But if it ever did come back down to that level, that would be an epic buy, and that would be bearish divergence played out on the weekly. But again, we've got a conversion baseline crossover here on the weekly above price action. Chiku span above price action, and above the cloud. And if this signal were to have been traded, this one right here, you would be up 500%, and to the very top 640%. You can see why I put so much emphasis on Ichimoku clouds. I don't know why people don't create trading bots that just use that, because it's been the best. It's always such a good indicator. There's not many indicators in the world that give you entry points and exit points. I know people talk about market cipher and things like this, but you can trade itchy clouds on small term time frames, of course you can, But when it comes to long-term time frames, a weekly conversion baseline cross on an Ichimoku cloud, it's always needs to be traded, especially if it's perfect like this one. So if we're using that knowledge of the cloud, we got the entry point here, we still do not have the exit point. So this trend on the daily and on the weekly are both very much in play. And so yeah, I'm bullish on VeChain on the chart, on the technicals on the chart. And XRP, well, this will be fun. So XRP's been having a run. I've heard through the grapevine that some of this move has been caused by a pump group, so if that's the case, someone let me know. But if it's not, we'll see if we can make heads or tails out of it. So this is the weekly chart, right? So look what we've got here on the weekly chart. This is one of those crosses that I was talking about. Now the reason I'm a little bit skeptical about this cross is not because I disbelieve the cross. I mean, I love things like that. That's what I love to see. I love those crosses, right? But because we've had a massive FUD and then we had a pump group up here, then the chart is confused. Do you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't really. I find it's disappointing to me that these things have happened to XRP. Not that, yeah. I mean, anyway, what I'm trying to say is I find this chart harder to read the most because it's been tampered with. But if we look at it for what it's worth, we are diverging bullish on the daily here. We do have two steep wicks here. We're above the Bollinger Band as well. We don't like being above the Bollinger Band. Let's get rid of this Ichimoku cloud. It's a bit confusing. We don't really need it. So, look, these are the support zones. This zone here, 45 cents. We're above there. That's good. That is good. We could be moving up for another run, but by the looks of things, we've topped out 1 and 2, so we'll probably come back down. When XRP comes down, it sometimes can come down further than you'd like, but even with all this FUD, it's still respected very well. You know, the bottom of this accumulation zone that we were lucky enough to get involved in back in the day. Look at that wick to the top and to the bottom. So even with a massive FUD, it still does respect, I suppose. Historical price action is probably the best way to trade this one, rather than moving averages and other indicators. So you could probably get rid of all these indicators and just look at where it's been in the past and trade upon that. I don't really know why that is. I don't really know why it trades that way. I imagine it's because the community of retail traders on this one might be that might be their preference to see where it's gone and where it's likely to go after. But yeah, it's a strange one to think why it does these sort of things. Anyway, my bloody phone is bloody broken here. Right, so I would be inclined to think that if we did break down from here, if we do break down further than where we've broken down already, we'll be coming down to about 45 cents, and then we'll see if that gets respected at that level. But yeah, you know, I don't know what happened here, if it was a pump group or what. And I suppose in answer to your question, are we still bullish on it? I can't tell you, I'm afraid. I really can't tell you. The chat's not clear enough. But you know how I feel about this. If you've watched my videos on XRP, I am bullish on the long term. To the extent that you people call me either an idiot or a moon boy, there's reasons for it. There's a clear market cycle. We're moving closer to May, which is what I've originally always said. I've always said that after May it'll have the ability to start moving more, and the reason for that is that we have a lot more freedom after May. The cloud was always going to be green here, but when we're looking into May, what we've got here is we'll be above the cloud at a higher level. It's nice that we do have a conversion baseline cross here. After May, we will have the opportunity to move higher, and you'll call me stupid or crazy or mental or a moon boy, but we could even see areas like, to the top of this wick, we could even go all the way up to previous highs. I know it sounds stupid when I talk about it like that, but it's true. It's true. This is the way that the market cycle behaves. Now, when May happens, and just like what happened on the previous market cycle, there is likely to be a giant fake out, similar to this, but bigger and more significant retracement. And that's where all the people on Twitter, will be saying, "Told you, XRP is a scam coin." And I'm like, no, maybe it is a scam coin. I don't care if it is or not. There's a very clear market cycle that you can see on the weekly. You can't see it here. It's better on TradingView. In fact, let me just get it up. I'll show it to you. We don't need to see this for much longer. In fact, I don't think we've got any chart here which is going to have the... It's not going to have a full market history. Is it Bitstamp I've got my analysis on? Yeah, it is. Okay. Right. Let's just go to... We're on the daily, so let's just go right to the beginning here. Right, so this is the kind of move that I would be thinking that we would get, and then everybody go, "Way, XRP, let's go crazy." And look, I'm going to measure this out, and don't get excited. It's not going to move 4,000 or 5,000%, right? Market cap is different back here. It's not going to permit those kind of moves. But you know, as far as the formation is concerned, this is the kind of vibe that we're looking to get. We could probably get an appropriate measure move back down after that fake out, and this is what I would expect some point this year. You know, after May, I would expect a massive move, you know, to the tune of 100, 200, 300%, maybe more, and then a massive collapse back down again, where everybody starts slagging it off all over again. And then shortly after that, well, not shortly, I mean, we can reaccumulate at a higher level, and then we move from there. So that is XRP for you. And yeah, I take a lot of heat from it, but when you've got a token that's been around since 2013, the good thing about that is that it has had an entire market cycle prior to this one that's taking place right now. And you'll have to watch my video on the XRP market cycle. You could put the two, you could put the first market cycle, overlay it on top of this one, and they're almost exactly the same. So I'm expecting more or less the same kind of thing. Not thousands and thousands of percent in moves, but a new all-time high. Definitely, maybe even a new all-time high in the fake out that could take place in the summer, and then after that we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I'm bullish on it, but right now I can't say anything about it. It could just pop up to, you know, above 70 into $1, probably get a rejection around 86 cents, which is the top of, and this sounds crazy as well, this is all an accumulation zone. This whole red area here, this is all an accumulation zone. So yeah, we could pop up all the way to 86 cents and come back down. So maybe that would be the fake out, to 86 cents would be the fake out, and then consolidate for the rest of the summer or into the autumn until the end of the year, where the market cycle will complete and the all-time high will be surpassed. Right, VeChain to Ethereum. Strange choice. I don't really know why you would want me to look at this pair, if it wasn't for, I suppose, bot trading or something. I mean, when it comes to this, what have we got here? What the... It's like a witch's hat or cowboy hat or something. I don't know. I mean, the chart doesn't look particularly good, really, below this cloud. So as long as we're below a cloud, not really bullish on it. That's the weekly, I suppose. Let's have a look at the daily. All right, daily's better. So what have we got here? Conversion baseline. And again, we've just looked at VET, so we had something similar to this. So that's a bullish cross. That is bullish. Everything about this is bullish. Golden cross, conversion baseline cross, Chiku span above price action, respecting more or less these. My only concern would be if Ethereum rallies, then this is going to wreck this chart. Look, we've already looked at VeChain. I'm bullish on it overall. I mean, Ethereum's acted like a stable coin for a while now, so I suppose charts will look good against Ethereum, but I am a little suspicious that Ethereum may rally, so I would be cautious if you're looking to set a bot up against Ethereum right now. You might have some moments of glory, but I think the bot will catch up with you in the end. Can you have a look at NULS? Yes, I can. Right, okay, so this one's looking okay as well. So let's just quickly check the extensions here. So bearish divergence on the RSI. We're seeing a lot of this play out already. So one top here, one top here. The next run I would expect us to touch this trend line here, wherever that may be. So we should get another run before a decent dump on that one. So it's shaping up quite nicely. Golden cross here and conversion baseline cross here, which is good to play. So that was that would have been your area to get in, and that is still playing out. So yeah, I like it. I do like it. Again, with Bitcoin behaving the way it's behaving, we are expecting it to come back down to this moving average here between 53,000, which is getting close to it now, isn't it? Getting close to it now, 53,000 to maybe 52.5, give or take. So we would likely see our entry point get filled. Maybe we'll be lucky and we could pick it up at the center of the Bollinger Band, and that would be a very nice place to go. The obvious place for everybody to pick it up. And yeah, I'll be looking for this one to make another run. So let's have a look at previous price action. Why have we struggled around here? What's been the problem? Have we got previous price action around here? Potentially, I suppose we did have tops around here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any supports? Kind of, but not really. It's been long standing, so I suppose you could argue it's mainly based on the tops. Right, so this one would, when this breaks out of outside of this support, sorry, this rejection zone, coming in at $98.5 cents, 98.5 cents, then that would be breakout territory. Expect to see rejection around there until it breaks out. Then when it breaks out, this is the obvious place. So it's not a great deal massive move, I suppose, from breakout to here, 33%. But we've seen a few charts like this. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Holochain and FET in the way that it looks. So maybe I would be naive to think that it couldn't just go more. I don't know anything about the token. I don't know anything about it. So the way that those other things have behaved, that we have traded on this channel, I mean, they have blown our minds. So maybe this will, move on to a new all-time high. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video, I suppose, for the people who have just joined. I am expecting an alt season to take place as Bitcoin loses a bit of its market cap. But for those who, I'm not going to explain it all over again. So, but for the Patreon members who've watched this from the beginning, yeah, with that in mind, then yeah, this one could move severely. But we do have areas. I suppose it's a blue box zone. It's not so much a single trend line. It's an area. We could call it around this zone here. So that would be the next zone. But when we saw things like FET, when that broke out and we expected these areas to be respected, they weren't. They weren't respected at all. They were broken right out. Do we have any other? Okay, this kind of looks like it could be forming some kind of upwards facing trend line as well. So yeah, when we break above here, there'll also be a bit of a struggle around here, and this would be the area, I'd say, $1.38. That's when we will moon, when we get above there. So I can't say that's going to happen right now. If this were to take its time, these all come into the same area around, well, it's a bit late, isn't it? Midsummer. I'm sure it will have done its move by then. That's how I feel about that one. I hope that's useful to you. But it looks okay, but yeah, strong resistance at the top there. NAV. It doesn't have a tether pairing from what I see there, so we'll just have a quick look on Bitcoin. Jeez, Spike Essential. This could be a decent bot perhaps. So what's the volume on this one? Why is it so spiky? That's why, because the volume is pretty low. Well, we've got an uptrend on the RSI, we've got an uptrend on the price action. We've got a golden cross here that we dumped down into in a single day. That is, what the hell happened here? 61% move from there to there. I mean, something so volatile would probably tell me to stay away from it, to be honest with you. But looking at it on its trend alone, it's in an uptrend. If we just imagine that these wicks didn't exist, then there is a trend here, definitely, and there is divergence with the moving averages, so that's good as well. Money flow index is almost forming like a square shape, so that is because the that's because there's no volume on it. I mean, a 46 bitcoins in a day. I mean, that's a lot. It's like 2 million, but it's not massive. It's not massive. So, yeah, I'm not gonna fill you with false hope. This could dump, below here, but it does look like the start of an uptrend. And when you get the start of an uptrend, they can be slow and volatile. Entry points, I would be cautious, and I would wait to see if I could get entry points around here, which would be the 200 exponential again, or even the center of the Bollinger Band again. It's very, very volatile. I mean, it would suit a bot if you wanted to set up a bot on this one. Let's have a look at the lower term time frames, see how volatile they are. It's volatile, but it's downtrending on the 15 minutes, but everything is, I suppose. Let's have a look at the 4 hourly. Alright, so it does look like that it probably will come down to this level. Was that 964? And that is 965. So yeah, center of the Bollinger Band, I'd try and pick that one up, and if it goes down further, so be it. But if it doesn't, then you've tried your best. But again, I'm not your financial advisor, so that is that. LSK, because Anchor. Oh, cause Anchor and Dent. Well, that's a lot you've asked for there, but I'll do my best. I'm not going to do Anchor because there's no point. There's no point. It's mooned. It's on Coinbase. It's done its thing. I can't talk about that one. Right, this one is also mooning as we speak. Fair play to it. Let's have a look. How's it working? So that should cross there. Alright, so it's 2 out of 3 confirmations on the conversion baseline, so fair enough. Look, moving average is diverging. It's mooning already. Let's have a look how extended it is. Not particularly too extended. Relationship to the Bollinger Band has more or less proven to be pretty accurate, so I would expect this to come back down and come back down to the 10 exponential, just like we always expect these things to do. What's the volume on this thing? Pretty high. It's pretty high. So yeah, I mean, it's mooning. It's a good chart. It's got plenty of room left to move, but it doesn't like to be outside of zero gravity. It wants to come back inside the Bollinger Band, and the Bollinger Band is expanding rapidly because of the this massive move. But yeah, I think it's bullish. I think it's going to remain bullish. But yeah, then don't go buying it here. That would be FOMO. Get your entry point. Get an appropriate entry point. Cause let's have a look at that. Alright, so we've already looked at this one in the past, and we've obviously been rejected from there. It's bullish still. This is the bullish chart, conversion baseline. Yeah, same old, divergences, same old. On something like this, if you really wanted to go in for it, if this is something that I really wanted to trade, I would stagger my entry points. One entry point would be here, because that's how we've held up quite well in the past here. Bounce, and I would expect maybe a bounce from here. If that doesn't bounce, it could come down quite nastily to here, or maybe even to here. I'd stagger in. I'd rather say, all right, we are bullish. Everything about this chart is bullish. But yeah, we have been rejected here 1, 2, 3, 4 times in a row, and we're still going down. But that's because that's the nature of the market. Remember, I am bullish overall on the market. Let's just have a quick look at what the retailers are doing at the moment. They're still generally bullish. Binance are a fickle lot. They like to move with price action, but it's still overall bullish. There's still a lot of longs taking place. So yeah, I'm still pretty bullish on the market overall. Even if we do get some downside, we'll be looking to pick up some of these alts more than Bitcoin, in my opinion. And yeah, one entry point here. It probably will come down further than that, but at least we've got one entry point, because in my opinion, over the next few weeks, maybe month or two, this will be broken. And when this breaks, this will be the blue sky breakout. This is what it will be. These are the candles. This is the highest candle body close on this chart, and then from there, all we've got is this mega wick, which brings us up another 38%. When we get these U shapes, we see these frequently now with some of these altcoins, especially at this stage in the crypto market. So we've seen this with many things. I think even ADA looked a bit like this. Anchor looked like this back in the summer last year, and look at it now. if you remember Elrond before it became E-Gold, looks like this, mooned. E-Gold, another example, look like this, mooned. These U's often end up mooning. They could form a cupping handle, but they might just moon as well. So I'm expecting this one to moon, and if you wanted to get an appropriate entry point, if that's something that you really want, so then yeah, you'd stagger in here, or you'd wait for it to come down further. If it does form a cupping handle, it probably would come down to the centre of the Bollinger Band, go back up, probably get rejected here again, and then moon, basically. So I'm very bullish on the way that this chart looks, and again, not overextended at all, really. But yeah, it could quite easily favour a bit more downside. Let's measure that one. How far was that at the top? 99. That was 99% read on the money flow index. So yeah, I mean that was an exit point at that. If there ever was an exit point, that would have been it. But it doesn't mean that the trend is over. It just means that is about as high as you can ever go on the money flow index. And it's very rare. I can't say I've ever seen a read that high. Right, anchor and dent. I'll just have a look at dent for you. Okay, doing all right for time. Right, so it looks like you like your money flow indexes extended, don't you? So yeah, I mean, what can I say? I mean, it's this likes to have high reads, but that's the highest it's ever been where it is right now. I wouldn't ever get involved in anything that's got a read that high, nor would I want to buy anything with a candle that's started outside of a Bollinger Band. Look, I mean, the chart is bullish, and you don't need me to tell you that, but it's also extremely overextended. So yeah, I would expect a retracement on that one, but still be in an uptrend. I can't really go into any more details on that. What's the trading volume on this one? It's absolutely phenomenal. It's massive. So yeah, I mean, that's the deal. That is the deal. What's the size of this retracement so far on this wick? Yeah, it's 20%, 21%. I'd leave it alone for a moment. Obviously you can always go higher. People FOMO into it. Don't FOMO into anything. We want to spot things that are not been FOMOed into. We want to get in at the bottom of a trade. That's how you make a 10x. You don't make 10x's chasing candles like this. You make 10x's, being clever and getting in at appropriate times, at the beginning of trends, or at particular signals. This looks to me like you want to wreck yourself, and I would leave that one the hell alone. Right, working, everything's working. ONT. So far I've not seen any of these charts so far that we've looked at that me personally are particularly interested in. Right, so this looks pretty much like a standard altcoin chart at the moment. They've all done this. Big move up, probably a 50% retrace back down. Yep. And recovering quite well, I would say. So I suppose it looks pretty good. Conversion base on here, cancelled out really by the price action and the Chiku span over here. A bit of a mess, but it wants to continue with its uptrend. Let's have a look at these here. So that's nice to see. Slow divergence, ready to go. Money flow index creeping up, RSI creeping up. This one could go. We're going to see a lot of altcoins like this. I've seen a lot like this, where basically the move is going to be held back by the way that it had such a severe dump that the Bollinger Bands have pinched between each other. But that's okay, because if you were looking to get into a spot trade, right, that's going to take a prolonged period of time, these are the sort of trends that you're looking to get in on. They're a continuation of an already established trend that's blown its top off, corrected with the market significantly, and now it's picking itself up. It's dusting itself off. It was what it's doing. So I know everybody wants to see a 10x immediately. You don't get 10x's immediately. 10x's take months to achieve. You probably what was the previous price action on this one? Could you get a 10x on this one? You might get close to one. It's been a lot higher in the past. I'm not saying it's going to do a full retrace. So what's the weekly telling me? The weekly is better than the daily, I would say. Let's just measure that. Cross. Do we measure it here or do we measure it here? It's hard to say. So it's a little messy, but it did happen. We did have a conversion baseline on the weekly, so this one probably will end up doing a decent move. I actually think that this one actually is a really good chart now that I look at it on the weekly. I'm not suggesting that we will make a full retracement up to the top. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that when you look at this on the weekly, it offers more opportunity than looking at it on the daily. And this is something that I suppose I get criticised about when I don't make calls. I don't have a signals group, but when I talk about things like EOS or what other coins have we? I suppose Holochain really. When I was talking about Holochain before it moved, it looks similar to this in a way. And I'm saying, look, I'm looking at this in a weekly. All right, I'm expecting a face melting move, but I can't tell you when it's going to be, because I'm looking at it on a weekly. This could take a long time to play out. So you buy into this and you basically just sit and wait for it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But the signal, I suppose, is already there on the weekly, and the freedom has begun for this to actually start to make some decent moves. So I would say that this one is so far the best chart that we've looked at so far. If you're looking to potentially get involved in an altcoin which potentially does do something close to a 4 or a 5 or maybe a 6 or maybe even a 10x. I mean, what would this be if we were to moon from here to our previous high? And I'm not saying that this is what it's going to do. So that would be a 5.5x if it did do that. Now, when I traded the Holochain chart, that was my target. I said, look, end of the day, if it gets to its previous high, I'll be happy. And obviously, it's gone way beyond that. Now, clearly, I sold a lot of it, on the way up, and I've only got a little bit riding, a tiny portion of what I had originally, because that's the way to trade, I suppose. You don't sell everything all in one go. When you see something mooning so hard, you limit your exposure, you limit your risk, and you take your profit, but you always leave a little bit riding. So maybe this one could be one of those charts. It has the potential to be one, and it's got the freedom to be one. So from between now until the cycle end, 2022, January 2022, would not be surprised if we did see this one moon all the way up to the top of here and beyond. So yeah, well done for bringing that one to my attention. I like it. And Theta, I think this one's already mooned, hasn't it? So I might not be able to give you such a clear picture on this one. Well, I can't really tell you anything on this one, I'm afraid. I'm just going to have to say, for those who got in on it, well done, congratulations. And for those who didn't, like myself, slap on the wrist. You should have been paying more attention. I can't begin to. What can I say, really? I mean, it's FOMO, but if you're already in this one, I think it still has room to move. But that is one beast of a candle already. No price action prior to that. It's a beast. It's a rare beast. But I would rather focus on your first token, ONT, where it has the potential to make a move, even though you're buying at the bottom and it can be slow and painful to begin with, than to look at something like this and consider what it could be like if you FOMO'd into it. Please cover OMI. Is that one here? No, it's not. It's not, I'm afraid. But you have given me a tip, so thank you for that. So let's have a look. Is it on here? I don't have all the indicators that might be required, but I can give you my. What am I? What is going wrong with me today? Am I right? What's going on? Oh, am I? I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be looking at here, mate. Nothing seems to be coming up for me. I'm so sorry. I wish I could refund you that tip. I'm so sorry. If you've got something that would perhaps maybe come up on a Binance chart, I'd be very happy to look, but I can't find what it is that you want me to look at there. So I'm sorry, mate. Really sorry about that. My view on Ocean. Right, let's have a look at that. Yeah, so Ocean's holding up quite well. Again, it's a young chart on Binance, so it doesn't offer an enormous amount of clues as to what it wants to do. But what I would say is it's getting better with age. So we've got our 200 exponential just formed here. Divergence is pretty big. And yeah, we're coming down to test the center of the Bollinger Band. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we broke down a little bit more because of the way that the market wants to behave right now. Remember when we got involved, I'm not boasting, but yeah, I bought more or less these bottoms here around about between 30 and 35 cents. And we got more bullish when we saw this W pattern forming. And I said, look, W patterns like this often end with a big breakout, and that's kind of what's happened. Again, I trade this. I don't really trade it. I buy it and hold it because I believe in this one like a stock. So I've stopped adding to my position now because there's more opportunities around. But I have, and I do hold quite a significant amount of this, and I'm waiting for developments to kick in for this one. So like I say, I've bought this like a stock on a fundamental basis. But on the chart alone, what have we got here? Conversion baseline here, and a decent one at that. So this would mean that, in my opinion, that this probably took place here. We'll call it. So far, 60% from that move. That was a good cross because above the clouds and the Chiku span is floating way above the price action. So this should have continuation from here, unless, of course, over the next few. When would this take? About a week. We've got 10 days. 10 days to rally. We can afford to have a bit of a dip. So long as we rally above, make new all-time highs in the next 10 days, this trend will continue. If it doesn't, we'll probably have a further cooling off period, maybe even a consolidation, a deeper correction, and then we will pick it back up at, I suppose, these moving averages. So I'm not immediately bullish on it or anything like that, but the trend is still in play. It doesn't look particularly strong, but the trend is still in play. So I'm treating it upon that trend formed upon the Ichimoku cloud, and we normally see those play out to a decent extent. I am bullish on that one overall, though. Do like it, and this one is pretty bullish as well. But that's a big move it's had recently. So this was the last. Geez, it's moved a hell of a lot since then, hasn't it? 400, 300. So its destination, I would expect, would be the Bollinger Band here. Because it's so bullish, you'll have people focus on this. What's the trading volume on this one? It's pretty big. You'll have people look at this and wait for a dip to get bought. Will that dip continue to a new all-time high? It might do, just because of the way that it's moved so far. It's the masses will fall into it and buy it at the most obvious place, which is likely to be here. We've got the 20 moving average, center of the Bollinger Band. We've also got the 21 exponential, all at the same place. So its destination is between those two, which, if it happened today, 75 cents, and then probably a decent bounce from there. We are struggling around this zone, and I would think about it in terms of candle bodies, which comes in at $1.06. $1.06 needs to break, then you'll probably get another melt up after then. What I would expect to see is not just a straight breakout and all the way to the moon. It could happen. This is bullish, but a breakout and then a retest, and on that retest you probably get your mega move. That's theoretical, that's speculative, but that's usually how I would expect to see something like this to play out. So yeah, its destination, in my opinion, would be here, and then coming up to here, and then probably a wiggle around as this moving average. Let's draw a really crude. This is how I'm expecting that moving average to play out. Maybe not even that steep. So this will be a price action bounce, boing, 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 all the way up, little retest, and then a finale. And that is in no way representing the time frame that it would take for that to happen, but that's the kind of move that I would expect to see from something like this. Algo, yes, a little bit of a drag on, I would say, algo on my balance here. A little bit of a drag, but yeah, it's still within this pitchfork. That pitchfork has shifted, hasn't it? Let's get you back into position there. Let's get you back into position, mate. Yeah, so it's still doing its thing within the pitchfork. So this is the last time we've looked at it, and come back down to the bottom of the pitchfork. Also, the 50 exponential moving average. So it's if there is ever an entry point for a token which I think is going to do some good moves, this would be the one. This pitchfork is showing a reaccumulation at a high level. A breakdown from here could be pretty nasty, but I don't think it's going to do it. I just don't think it's going to do it. It doesn't look bullish, I have to say. It just doesn't look bullish, but on the basis of supports, moving averages, and all that jazz, it looks all right. Now let's just clear this up. Let's just get rid of that for a second, and get back into the chart. So conversion baseline in the cloud doesn't count, nor does, so we can't look at that and go and trade it on the Ichimoku cloud. It's kind of irrelevant. We can look at it on the weekly. What does the weekly say? Weekly says a different story. The weekly does look way more bullish than the daily, which is for me the important thing. Weeklies are much better. They offer the bigger move, so I would say that this one's still pretty good. We tagged the 10 exponential here on the weekly. You don't see much of that going on recently, so this was a massive drop from here to there, just as big as any other, I suppose, but it's failed to recover so far. But I'm not saying that is because it's not going to. I think it's just reaccumulating at this level. So buying it gives, this is, rather than looking at something like Theta or these other tokens that have already done their moves and people are tempted to FOMO for quick gains, you buy into something like, I'm not a financial advisor, but I have been buying into something like this because you buy the bottoms, you buy the supports, and you wait for the moves. You might see something like Theta move up and you go on Twitter and someone's boasting about it going, huh, you bought algo like a dick and I bought Theta and I win. We go, alright, fine, but don't distract me from my strategy, from my plan. You can celebrate, but don't call me a dick, alright? Not that anyone has, but you know what I mean. Don't get distracted from your own analysis, from your own strategy, from your own goal. And for me, the goal is very much, ahead of us with this one, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to, you're not going to score that goal. I'm pretty confident that you will. Look, I'm not one for fundamentals, but when it comes to algo, it is a legit. They're not scammy. It is legitimate. All right, it's slightly different to other blockchains. They are a legitimate force. They're already on Coinbase. They've been there for a while. And when you look at the way that the chart looks, hello. What do we have here? We've got one of these U shapes forming. In fact, it's not formed yet. But you see where I'm coming from. And historically in alts, when we see these kind of things, especially when they start to pick up momentum like this, they would almost always complete. So this would be the end goal, and then anything above that would be a bonus. So I am very happy to be buying this down here because it's giving me every opportunity to buy it, and I have been buying it. So I like it. And yeah, like I say, don't get distracted from your own goal. If other coins moon, they moon. Doesn't mean that you're not right. Do you know what I mean? And that you've missed out. You might have missed out on Theta, you might have missed out on these other things, you might have missed out on Anchor, but trust me, just because they move first doesn't mean that it isn't going to move. Alright? It's not the end of the world. Trust your coin, trust your analysis, trust your entry point. And be patient. We could have a look at SXP BTC. Alright. Let's have a peep, shall we? Right, so normally under any normal circumstance I would say this is a bit scary because this is supposed to be below us, but you get a lot of this because Bitcoin has been so bullish against altcoins that a lot of charts look like this. So this is another one of those which offers opportunity. Look, we've got we can't really measure that, can we? What is that here? What's the relationship? Yeah, so that doesn't count. But again, we are above the cloud, which is good. We're above most moving averages apart from here. When we break above here and turn that to a base, then things get really interesting. But it's a young chart still, so we don't have that opportunity yet. I like the way it looks. Let's have a look on the weekly. It's only going to be very small, isn't it? So it's not really going to offer much. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to really say. I mean, I'm bullish on this one overall. If this one does end up mooning to the extent that other people suggest it's going to moon, as in like $100, I'm not going to say that that's impossible, but people like round numbers, don't they? People always want. So all we've got to achieve here is a 38 move to break above the to get above this 200 exponential, and then things really should pick up pace at that point. This if we moved up to there and used that as a support, that is really bullish. This should always be below us in a bull market, and it's at the moment 38% above us, so it's not that far out of reach when you think about it. It depends on how Bitcoin behaves, obviously. Yeah, I mean, to look at it against its BTC pairing, it's kind of nondescript. It's not as telling. It doesn't offer as many clues as the Tether pairing does. But it's interesting to think about it in those terms. A 38% move from here to get to that level, and then use that as a support and a launch pad for a larger move. Maybe the Moon Boys are right. I'm not saying $100 or anything like that, but a significant move from that level forward could lead us up to these previous peaks up here, which would be 169% move, which kind of goes hand in hand with what I would expect overall with SXP, about another 100. And yeah, so we'd be talking about areas of about $7, $8, $9. That seems appropriate at this current level. Sounds about right. So maybe between $7 and $10 we could be looking at there. So that does sound about right. Top targets. So I imagine the SAT charts are good when USDT looks good for a blue sky. Yeah. So that's kind of basically what we've gone through, isn't it? That's the kind of vibe that we're looking at. But sometimes SATs can be misleading, because SXP had a massive rise to glory and a giant collapse. So the Satoshi pairing it might be misleading for us to look at this and measure it out and go, yeah, well, it's been here in the past. Well, it was there in the past, but it did the complete opposite of what Bitcoin did. SXP mooned and then collapsed all the time that Bitcoin was rising, so it made this chart look worse than it should do. So for me to really measure it from peak to peak, I mean, it is wishful thinking. I think this is a bad example of a chart to do that with, because it was significantly bearish in the time that Bitcoin was bullish. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, those targets are achievable, but let's not read too much into what I said, I suppose, on that pair. Right, so this one technically is bullish, very choppy. What's the okay? The trading volume is not too low. It's pretty high. It's very high. I forget sometimes how much a Bitcoin is worth. So 200 Bitcoins is pretty good. Right, so no particular edge on Itchy Cloud, but posturing taking place here with moving averages is all pretty good. Diverging, considering this is a Bitcoin chart, it is still pretty good. We have a strong relationship here with the 200 exponential touch. So even though it looks like everything's going well for it, it has always seemed to come back down to touch this. And you often get that, and we see this all the time when we go through these charts on these live streams, and we see it every week when we do this. We always see a golden cross followed by a dump into it, but we don't often see 1, 2, 3, 4 dumps into it. But we've got that, so it is what it is. It's still a golden cross. That they are still diverging, so this is still bullish in theory. What the hell? But that said, MACD is looking a little bit bearish here. So yeah, I mean, overall, I'm bullish with altcoins, so I would expect this one to perk up. And if we look at the way that the chart has formed, excuse me, do we have it? It's not really, that doesn't count for much there, does it? That's a little bit better, I suppose. But then I suppose there's just another representation of the 200 exponential, so we'll kind of leave that out and we'll look at it in the form of moving averages instead. They are more relevant. Look, it's in an uptrend against Bitcoin, which is bullish, so I can only imagine that the tether pairing is even more bullish than this. I like it. It is good. We're struggling around these zones here. This has been a clear toppy area, and it corresponds to quite a lot of things here, doesn't it? So we've got supports, breakdown, top, 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 top. So I would be inclined to think that when this area gets taken out and retested as support, so 300, is that all it is? 336 sats. So this could be a decent bot pair because the sats are so low. So this could be a decent one to trade with a bot. Then yeah, we're talking moon time perhaps, and the moons would bring it up to 500 to maybe even 620 sats. But for the moment, we're still stuck below that support, that resistance zone, and that resistance zone is clearly strong, and it has confluence to these zones all the way back down here. So, but yeah, it's in an uptrend still. Can it break that? Probably will. And then the moon. Right, what else have I got to look at? SXP. Am I missing things here? OMI. It's just not here. What exchange is this on? Is this what you want me to look at? Owens Motoring. I'll wait for you just to reconfirm that, because it's a bit of a random call there. SXP, we've done that. Can I name some good combos, bot combos? Well, at the moment, we've gone through some that we've looked at, and that's it really. I mean, I'm personally, looking for opportunities myself. I don't go into bots willy-nilly. If you've watched my videos about how I did all those bots in the past, that's when the market had a very clear direction, very easy to do bots back then. I've got my bot, I'm ready to do bots. I pay my subscription to the bots. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to use the bots immediately. Do you know what I mean? Just because I pay a subscription to use bots doesn't mean that I have to use bots. Using bots at the right time is that, it's part of my tool belt. But yeah, we've had a few, and this one could be one. This could be a bot here, right, that you're looking at right this moment. This could be one of the bots. And if you were to set up a bot on this one, you'd look at it on the daily. You'd look at, okay, potentially, we could come down to that 200 exponential. We'll give ourselves a bit of comfort. We would trade a range quite large at 110 percent size with a trailing up on. And what's the volatility on the small term time frames? Pretty volatile. So you'd do okay out of this one, I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, at the moment it's difficult because the alt season technically hasn't yet begun, and it may not. But if it does, then yeah, pair everything against Bitcoin. Bitcoin sats will be. I mean, Bitcoin will just be handing sats out left, right, and center. And so, if you were to set bots up, my preference would definitely be against Bitcoin, because at the end of a rotation, at the end of an alt season, money always flows back into Bitcoin. So you want to stack as many sats as possible, whether you're buying in spot or you're doing bot trading. Always trade against Bitcoin, because that's where it'll end up in the end. All that profit will all go back into the Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin will blow its top off, and then likely a correction after that. GRT. Right, so this one's looking a little worse for wear on the 4 hourly. Let's have a look on the daily. Yes, but it's looking pretty, I wouldn't say nasty, but it's not looking good. Right, we've got an oversold RSI, so this would be a matter of catching a knife. There's no signal here to say it's going to go up. But if you wanted to, you would catch this knife, and that's what it would be. You would be catching a knife. It's a young chart, so we don't have much to go by. We don't have much to go by on it, so we can't. Yeah, if it breaks down from here, the wick could be disastrous. It could continue to go down further. It could be a full breakdown. I just don't know. I don't know. Can we have some kind of pitchfork on this one, perhaps, maybe, that has some relevance to it? No, we don't even have that. So Yeah, I mean, if you want to catch a knife, you can catch a knife. There's no uptrend on here at the moment. It's just a downtrend. It's a severe consolidation, is probably what I would call it. And we're below all the major moving averages, all of them. And MACD is just crossing below the 0 point, which could speed up a further correction on that one. So obviously I can be wrong, but I try to trade. Can't get my words out. Try to trade a trend, and there's no trend here to trade. So I've got nothing more to say on it. I don't want to lead you into a false sense of security, thinking it's a good thing to buy or not, because it doesn't look like it is, unless you're happy to catch a knife. And if you catch a knife, then good for you. Link. Wow, it looks like I've tried to do some analysis on Link, and it's broken out of this. So in that respect, it's failed. It's failed its breakout. That's my phone dead, so I'm going to have to flick between different pages. So yeah, I mean this one's broken down. Let's have a look at how nasty it looks. It's broken down. We do have this area down here. I'm not saying we're going to come down to $19. Let's look at the weekly, see what the weekly offers us. Right, so the weekly is offering us one little area of hopium on the 10 exponential right here, which comes in more or less where we're at right now, $26.36. If you wanted to, that could be an entry. And if you think about it in terms of long-term time frame, we've got a conversion baseline crossover here. This is where the weekly trend began, all the way down at $11, moved all the way up to 200%. So we're already still up 122% on the weekly, and the weekly is giving us another opportunity to buy here. If this breaks down, it's not failed, it's just going to feel a little more nasty. We probably would come down to between 20 and 22. We could come down to those zones, but when you see a chart look like this on the long term, I mean, you don't need me to tell you what this is. This is an uptrend, right? It's an uptrend, and there was a brand new uptrend began technically either here or here. It's more or less the same place in price action, and it's still in play. And if you wanted to get in at a reasonable place, you would get in at these moving averages, and this is one place to get in. So maybe this could be a potential area to buy for a spot hold, and if it is, then the trend will continue, and the trend very much looks like it's why am I not able to move my bloody screen? What is going on here? Anyway, we'll be looking at something similar to I suppose let's just call it this. Whoa, what the hell? Yeah, something along those lines, and it's not letting me see this. I don't know what's going on with this chart at all. I don't know why I can't move it, but yeah, weekly uptrend still in play. It's not been cancelled out. It's still in play, and it still wants to move. But yeah, buying it here might be your opportunity. Right, so now I'm going to have to keep flicking between things here. So we've looked at all of these. We've looked at all these. Lots of EOS calls. Oh, I've had a few tips today. This is good. I'm going to open this to the public more often. Right, I am getting a lot of requests here, so I'm not going to be able to get through all of these. I'm only going to do this for another 15 minutes. So where have we got to? Anchor to BTC. I can't look at Anchor anymore. It's there's no point. Put like the video, lads. Yeah, you can like it. How do cupping handles behave usually? Well, they usually end with after the handle is formed, then a really big move. There's no particular size of the move, just your general moon, basically. So if you look at I've got no example, I suppose, to show you, but yeah, once you've got a cupping handle, where the cup and the handle all are, it should be a flat horizontal level, and then basically once it breaks that horizontal level, it moons, like the W formation that we saw on Ocean, like that. But there's no, I'm not saying it has to move 35%, 100%, a million %. It will just moon, and then it goes into a price discovery mode, and you have to judge it by the oscillators, generally by how overextended it is on RSI, on on money flow index generally, if you want to try and catch a top, or if you're happy just to let it ride. Usually it will leave a cup in handle behind it, and maybe not revisit it ever again. Right, what else are we looking at? Right, CHZ. So this is another one of those moon tokens, isn't it? That I'm not really probably going to be able to offer much. Yeah, I can't tell you anything about that. I mean, if you wanted to, yeah, what we always say and what I try and I suppose drill into people is that yes, it's mooned, and your first opportunity to buy would be usually the 10 exponential, and that worked out. We got a lower high, and now that's broken down. So the next area would be here, coming in at between 42 and 43 cents. What would we expect there? Well, I mean, the chart is still bullish. It's an uptrend still. Maybe it bounces from there and carries on, but it might not. But this would be an area for a bounce. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a reversal. But again, the chart is well, it's not very young, is it, I suppose, but it's just mooned so hard, so fast, that it's difficult for me to say. Something usually I would imagine of something that's moved so aggressively and has failed to bounce on these levels might reaccumulate a little bit around here for a prolonged period of time before another moon. But yeah, I would expect a bounce here, definitely, but maybe not a reversal, but definitely a bounce. So buying in here, see where we go. Yeah, got nothing more to say on that one, really. Right, it's only fair that I check these guys who have paid for something. Can you look at Harmony to USD? Yeah, we've already looked at it. You might not have been around, so I'll have a look for you now. We've kind of already gone through it. I think what we said was that we see really high reads here on the money flow index and on here, which is usually it's not the end of a trend. The trend is clearly an uptrend, and it can continue, and this uptrend definitely can continue. The entry point isn't going to be as simple as just saying this level right now has to be bought. Get your exponential moving averages, get your moving averages onto your chart, and the way that this one has behaved since it went into this turbo bullish mode is that it respected not just the 10 exponential, but even this white one here. This skinny white one is my 7 moving average, so that's not an exponential, it's a 7 moving average, and it bounced from there, more or less bounced from there. You could probably even less than that, but I would wait for it to come down and retest that. Now, this is a spinning top. Normally when you get something like this, it doesn't know which way it wants to go. It could carry on. Don't FOMO into something. I have to try and put this into people's minds. Don't FOMO into something. Just because something's already gone up and it looks like it's going to continue to go up, it might not. You know, I don't know how long you've been watching this for, but there has been other opportunities present themselves so far that are more promising than this one. This one can moon. Of course it can moon. It can moon all the way to $1. Of course it could do that. There's nothing to say that it wouldn't. There's nothing to say that it would. But you're buying an uptrend which is way already in play. And you know, I'm not gonna don't want to sound like, you know, your average YouTuber, but I mean, I was covering this one down at like 20 sats. Do you know what I mean? You know, I was saying it. You know, this is something to buy down at 20 sats because there was a double bottom there. There was a lot of signs to suggest that this could begin an uptrend, and obviously, you know, it's worked out okay. You know, it's worked out okay. So that's what we should try and, you know, if you're looking to make significant gains, try not to think about what you can get in fast. You want to play the long game. You want to be patient. You want to get in, you know, not at bottoms, but at things that look like they're going to begin an uptrend. So I wouldn't be comfortable telling anybody to buy into this one now, even though it can obviously continue to moon. If you really wanted an entry point, you use these moving averages, the 7 moving average, the 10 exponential moving average, and you wait patiently for it to come down and tag those. Let's have a look at the weekly. So, I mean, the weekly is so overextended that I would definitely expect a retracement from that. Money flow index is coming in at 96, almost 97. There's no entry point, I'm afraid. I would, you know, I'd be so uncomfortable buying in on this one at this point now. You get in before it does these moves, and I can't remember what token it was now. Was it Dent? I can't remember what it was now. Oh, no, it was OM. It was. I can't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to go back in time and have a look. there was a token that we've already looked at on this channel already on this live stream, which was way more promising than any of these that have already gone up. And could you check NU USD? Yeah. What is that? Never heard of this little thing before. Right, so we're on the daily here. It's not very old, is it? But this is, I don't know. It's not really telling me. It's a matter of catching a knife, I suppose. What's this? I mean, it's on Coinbase. So it touched the 50 exponential. It moved up 400%. Is this a 50% zone? Yeah, pretty standard. There's no there's no bottom in sight for me at the moment. I would imagine these lows probably get revisited. The obvious place would be between these zones here, so it's a bit of a blue boxy zone, I suppose. It moved pretty hard, so between where we are at right now and probably even maybe a little bit lower. It's a deadly one, it's a dangerous one. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying buying it or anything like that. That was one hell of a moon anyway from its entrance to the market. It's a 10x already, so I just, I'm not comfortable telling you much about it, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. Sometimes the best advice is no advice at all, because if I try and put a positive spin on this one, it would just be for the sake of it. It doesn't look particularly good. It doesn't look particularly bad. It's pretty much neutral. It needs to start an uptrend, and at the moment it tried to bounce from this 50 exponential moving average, but we've broken down below it. We've even got a sell signal on it right now. So yeah, I would wait, and I would leave it alone for a little while. There's a lot of people asking me to look for EOS, and I think we'll call it a night at that. So let's have a look at EOS then, shall we? And we'll leave it at that. So if everybody's liked this, who are not part of my Patreon channel, we do these live streams. I say we. I don't know why I say we. I suppose it's because people are joining me, but it's just me. It's just me that does it. We do these twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Fridays, sometimes Tuesdays and Saturdays, and we just go through charts. We normally take about 2 hours. I give my overview at the start, which is basically like a summary of the market and how I'm choosing to interpret these charts, because a lot of the time we can look at a chart and we can have the best setup in the world and Bitcoin just dumps, and obviously it ruins the setup. So I always start with an initial summary of how I'm expecting at least the next week or two to play out, and that gives these charts a bit more relevance, because we could look at this and go, well, Bitcoin is looking pretty crap, so take this with a pinch of salt. Or sometimes we're looking and go, everything's strong, the market's strong, blah 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 blah. Let's look at these, and we can hold more relevance on these charts, because you can have the best altcoin chart in the world on the short-term time frames, and Bitcoin will just say, nah, I'm not gonna let you do that, I'm afraid. So we normally start with that, and then we go into at least an hour and 45 minutes worth of live stream action. So there's a link for my Patreon if you want to have a look at it. £7.50 a month, and you get 2 live streams a week. And there's also training, tutorials stuff on the Patreon, but it's mainly about the live streams. So yeah, feel free to have a look at that. So this is the deal with EOS, obviously a coin that I've followed a lot. Weekly's looking pretty good. It's not the best, but it is pretty good. So we got a conversion baseline cross here, 26 periods behind. So that is actually a perfect setup on the weekly for a long-term continuation. I've drawn this not because it's a trend line. You don't get vertical trend lines. It's an idea that I've tried to present to people, that this is a mirror and this is what we're looking to see. Although it wouldn't take this amount of time, it would take a lot faster for this to recover to these highs and maybe beyond. People think I'm stupid and crazy and mad because I talk about EOS, but these are the coins that offer the opportunities, not things like like Harmony One, those opportunities have passed. They've gone now. You know, these are the ones that offer the opportunity, and it's stupid. And I can understand people's apprehension in getting involved in something like this, because you look at the chart and go, well, it's dead. And then people talk to me about fundamentals and stuff and go, well, the developer left. The developer left. I'm like, look, they could promote the cleaner of EOS to head of development, and the chart would remain the same for me. And I trade charts, and charts get traded, and that's basically what I'm looking to see happen right here. So yeah, we had a big breakdown. This is what I would expect from a coin like this, really, because people look at it and go, it's dead, and look at that, it's even more dead. It's really, I'm telling you now, it's not dead. It's not dead. It's not dead. Obviously I could be wrong, but I don't want to sound like an arrogant twat, but I've been right about a lot of these bottoms just this year alone, right? We got Holochain, we got FET, we got Ocean, we've got Seller, Harmony One, even got Matic. I called the Matic bottom, even though I didn't trade it to its full extent. I called the Matic bottom. If there is something that I'm good at, I suppose it's catching confirmed bottoms. And I've been saying this since for a while now, and I suppose this is why I probably get a lot of heat from it. This was the overall deal with EOS. Consolidation, we were never going to break above it here, and then finally the consolidation ended. We entered into a period of accumulation, and this is where I started making my videos about it, saying we're in a period of accumulation here. Accumulation means that we have big moves up, big moves down, because the moving averages are all in the same place. You've got no edge, which basically means that you buy around this zone. You could buy here, you could buy down here, you could buy in the middle. It's an accumulation zone, and it will be rewarded in the end, because all of this is the low point. And I use it, I suppose XRP is a good example to show you, because I was saying this about XRP and I was getting the same kind of criticism as well when that happened. So I've got the chart up. Here we go. So the same kind of deal, really. Consolidation, top. We were never going to break out. Finally we broke out, and we entered into a period of accumulation. So this took quite a while, and people were saying, XRP's dead, man. And I'm like, I'm willing to be wrong on this, but I think that this is accumulation. And then we had a nice run, reaccumulation, a nice run. So as you can see, these charts aren't related. They're doing a similar thing. They're not correlated. It's just the behaviour that I try and spot. And this will show you, I suppose, in a way, apart from this madness over here, what I'm looking to expect with EOS. So consolidation ended, accumulation, run up, and then the inevitable XRP haters flood into the channel telling me that I was wrong, and then another big move up, and obviously they're all back again saying, oh, you're wrong. I'm like, look, try and keep focused on the goal. Okay, the goal is a lot bigger than the daily time frame, and it's the same vibe with EOS. So consolidation ended, accumulation began, first run up, and rejection, massive big move back down. We're above the accumulation zone again, which is good. Look, I'm pretty confident that it's going to work out, and I'm more confident now than ever, because a few weeks back we got our conversion baseline cross above the cloud, perfect cross. We're good to go. In my opinion, we're good to go. So this was the previous top. The next top we're looking at would be around here, at around about $7.07. Maybe even overshoot a little bit, and then guess what? Probably a rejection from there. That's fine. On the weekly chart, we're looking to reverse this. This is going to be reversed, and that's how I am viewing it. And we've got everything in here to say that that's how it's going to go. One thing I would say is that you see how here this cloud goes green. This will add a little bit more fuel to the fire. So this may take a little bit of time. So bear that in mind. It's likely to take a little bit more time. Another 139 days before the fuel is added to the fire. That's if it hasn't already been added. It could move up to here sooner rather than later. But when it comes towards the summertime, end of the summer or midsummer, then I would have expected this move to have played out by then, and if not, it will play out then. By the end of the year, this trend will have this will be a mirror image. in my opinion, it will be a mirror image. So it's not, none of these buying bottoms are ever going to be as easy as buying it and get your 10x. We've been lucky with some of these ones like FET and Holochain when we bought those bottoms because they moved quite quickly. Sometimes when you buy a bottom, you are sitting around for a very long time. But the beauty of buying a bottom is, my average area of buying this bottom here is roughly it's less than $3. So that means that every time it moves $3, I double my investment. And then so if it goes up to 6, that's a double. It goes up to 9, that's a triple. It goes up to 12, that's a quadruple, and so on and so on and so on. And that's the beauty of buying the bottom, is that you're not trading it actively. You've bought it, you sit back and you wait a long time sometimes. And I would be prepared to wait a long time for this one. I've always said from the very beginning that it's not going to be the best thing you've ever done in the world. It'll be a slow burner, but it was a reasonably safe bet from back down in the accumulation zone. That's all I was saying. I said, look, we're looking to find someone that's buying a bottom. I think this one's bottomed out here. So far it proves to have been correct. Not necessarily going to work out the way I think it is, but the signals are beginning to develop on the weekly term time frames, which offer the larger moves. This would normally have a larger continuation, so I'm pretty confident in this one, but it will take a while. Anyway, my voice is beginning to go now, so I'm going to leave it with you there, but I really appreciate you all joining me. Like I say, these live streams are closed off to the general population, to the general public. They're private. They're for the Patreon users. But subscribe to the channel anyway, guys. I do make daily videos, and most of my calls are on there anyway. I don't want to call them calls. They're not calls. They're just me reading charts. But if you do want to join the Patreon and access to these live streams, there's a link in the description below. Other than that, I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.